Welcome to another House Flipper 2 speed renovation video. Today I felt like renovating an A-frame house, so I renovated the Woodland Hostel. I've built this A-frame house in The Sims 4 before, and I wanted to create something similar to that. So I took a lot of inspiration from my own house. And by my own house, I don't mean my actual house. I mean a house that I have built before. So I knew what kind of vibes I wanted to go for. I wanted a warm wood with a lot of bright and colorful flowers in warm colors. So in the end, it's like very warm in tone, but then there's some greenery, of course, to break it up a little bit. So the color scheme is yellow, red, and orange plus green. But I made it like a warm tone of green, like very yellowish green on the inside, that is. The full renovation took me 14 hours. So even when sped up, the speed build was very long. I ended up breaking it up into 2 parts. This video is only gonna be the exterior, so in part 2 I will be showing the furnishing of the house. Today we'll be only doing the exterior, including landscaping, and I will also be doing the inside surfaces and the floor plan. Just because I did the landscaping after the floor plan actually, so it was just easier for me to edit it this way. Unlike in real life, in House Flipper, renovating actually takes a lot longer than building houses from scratch, because you build houses in sandbox, and in career mode it takes a lot longer to build walls or do surfaces. So that's why renovations usually take a lot longer than just building houses from scratch in House Flipper. But I do prefer renovations. It's just nicer to look at, because I feel like you get more satisfaction from seeing it because of the before and after. And of course the before and after photos at the end look really satisfying. So that's why I end up doing renovations, even though they take a long time. But yeah, stay tuned for part 2. I do actually prefer doing real-time builds. Like I just record myself building and talk while I have thoughts while building, instead of doing like speed renovations and a voiceover. It's faster to edit that way. Of course, it just takes additional time to do the voiceover and then edit that as well. Some people can just talk for 1 hour straight and just slap it onto the video, but I can't do that. I have to pause between speaking, and I look at my notes every once in a while to remember what I wanted to talk about. So I have to edit the voiceover separately before I put it onto the video. But I don't live alone, and I feel very awkward recording when I'm not home alone. So that's why I often end up just recording gameplay and then recording the voiceover separately. Because if I want to be home alone when I record, then I can't just do it whenever I want. I kind of have to work around my boyfriend's schedule. I don't know about you, but personally, I hate the cleanup phase. I know some people really love the cleanup, and I admit that it will make the house look really good really fast. But because I usually renovate my houses very drastically, the cleanup phase is always just something to get out of the way. Especially when you have to take the trash bags in the trash cans so often. I hate it. But I understand why some people like it. If you only renovate a house, keeping the original house pretty much, but just kind of changing the surfaces to be new. If you keep the original wood tones and stuff and the original shape and everything, I understand that cleaning up the trash makes a huge difference in how the house looks. But for me, because I usually end up changing a lot of stuff, even if the house wasn't dirty to begin with, my before and after photos would still show a lot of difference, you know what I mean? The only thing I really ended up keeping in this house is the A-frame, because that's why I chose to renovate this house in the first place. I would have even liked to have the roof be a lot lower. I usually try to avoid very high pitched roofs, because it leaves a lot of empty wall space. But in this one, I kinda compensated that by adding a lot of detail in the front. I loved the roof support beams that the original house had, so I ended up keeping those. I just changed the shape a lot. You can't really do diagonals in career mode, where I'm renovating this, of course. But I'm glad I came up with using a roof piece for the support beams, so I could still get that like diagonal support. I think it makes it look a lot more realistic and a lot more interesting too, compared to just having the horizontal support beams. Oh, I recently found out you can actually remove windows and doors by like moving it out of the wall first and then selling it, so it doesn't leave that gap in the wall. Better late than never, I guess. And I kept most of the original landscaping. In the cleanup phase, I just removed all the weeds and left it at that. I placed all of my landscaping just around the existing plants. So I don't have a lot of knowledge in architecture, but the style I tried to go for in this house is like traditional but refurbished, if that makes sense. Like I tried to use old style but make it look repainted. I feel like traditional styles don't usually use a lot of white. They're more like all wood toned. But in this build I wanted to use a lot of white accents to make it a lot brighter. At first I didn't know if I wanted to make the accents black or white, but I'm glad I went with white because it really brings up the mood of the house, you know, like with the bright flowers and the white accents. It just makes it look a lot more cheerful. Like I said, I don't know much about architecture or the theory behind house colors or shapes. What I usually do is I just do what I think looks nice, you know? Like, if it looks good to me, maybe it looks good to others. And after all, it's just a game. Like, maybe someone who renovates houses in real life or knows stuff about architecture, maybe studies it or something, might see, like, why my floor plan doesn't work or why my roof line is completely not realistic. But to me, the most important part is that it looks good. My point is why I decided to go with white wood instead of black is I feel like black is more common in contemporary or industrial builds. And I wanted to make this house more traditional. So I felt like white would fit it better, if that makes sense. I really hope we at some point get more plants in House Flipper 2. A lot of the flowers are really small. They look like they belong in a flower bed instead of like what I was going for in this build. I wanted to look more overgrown. And because you can't edit terrain in career mode, I also had to like cover a lot of ground. For example, in the part where I demolished some of the floor or a part of the porch in the back, I had to cover it up with plants because there was just dirt underneath. So I have to cover a lot of ground with plants to hide those dirt patches. So I really wish we had more like bigger bushes with flowers. It would make the landscaping a lot faster, first of all. And of course, if I have most of my landscaping be these giant bushes, I can just put tiny flowers in between, no one would see them. Thankfully, I did find this longer flower that came in all the colors that I wanted, but I still wish we had more options. At least the same ones we had in House Flipper 1. I don't understand why they didn't make some items we had in the first game to the second one. I don't know, maybe you can't just reuse the model or whatever, but I still hate when games do that, where we have some things in a game and when the game gets a second part, then we just don't have those things anymore that we already got used to. For example, the fairy lights we had in the first game, I really miss those. I loved using them in yards. They look so good. Especially at night, they made everything look so much better. And I loved using them in accent walls as well inside, for example in bedrooms. Or like in an office if you have a gaming PC set up. Fairy lights looked really good in the first game. I also wish you could recolor lights. There were some LED strips in the first game that came in some fun colors. I wish we had that in House Flipper 2 as well. It looks nice sometimes when you add LED strips to the roof line and even above like kitchen counters. It makes it look a lot nicer and brighter. So for the outside of the house, I wanted to make the shape a bit more interesting. So I added these dormers to the sides because otherwise an A-frame house is just a triangle, right? It looks very boring, like from the sides and stuff, anywhere but from the front, basically. So I wanted to add some interest to the roofline. But unfortunately, because we don't have an upside down triangle piece in career mode. Like we have that one triangle molding piece, but you can't rotate it upside down in career mode, unlike in Sandbox. So I had to kind of section off those dormer walls by building it down from the roof. And then I had to like close it off from the sides too, so it wasn't like a weird wall coming inward from the roof. But it ended up working out well, because at first I was afraid the house was gonna be too big, because it used to be a hostel, right? I think I actually ended up like making the house smaller on the inside by adding the dormers in the end, because of the way I had to build it inwards to not make the roof look stupid. So when making the floor plan, because I thought the house was gonna be multiple bedrooms, I added 3 bathrooms. I made it a 3-story house, I think the same as the original, but it actually ended up being only 1 bedroom, so 3 bathrooms was way too many. But I ended up making one of them into a half bathroom and one of them into a laundry room, so I don't think that's excessive or anything. Putting in the dormers also made making the floor plan on the inside a lot easier, because it was easy to decide where all the walls would be, like just continue the wall of the dormer, you know? I wanted to have a loft, like a space looking down to the living room. I think having a high roof in the living room or at the entrance really complements the big windows in the front. I like how it looks. Thinking back on it, I probably should have put the stairs somewhere else than at the edge of the loft. It kinda closes it off a lot. Like instead of the loft looking down to the living room, the stairs are kind of blocking the view a little bit. I don't know. It still looks good, don't get me wrong, and I think the floor plan makes sense. Maybe I just would have gotten my idea of the loft looking over the living room across a bit better if the stairs were somewhere else. But again, because of the dormers, the space was a lot smaller on the inside than it looks to the outside. So I don't know if there would have even been space to put the stairs anywhere else. I'm glad I didn't start changing it, because there's no undo button in career mode, only Sandbox. So if I demolished everything, changed the stairs and everything, and ended up not liking it, I would have had to like sell everything again and redo it all. I'm not bummed out about going with the choices I did. By the way, I'm not viewing the video while recording the voiceovers, so I don't know if I'm saying anything even remotely at the right spots. Like, I don't know what you're seeing right now compared to where I talk about things. I just kind of talk about everything I want to talk about and then try to kind of match it as best as I can in editing. But of course, the voiceovers are also a lot shorter than the actual video, because there's just so much footage. There's no way I could talk 2 to 3 hours in a row. I just don't have that much to say. So I will try to match up what I'm saying with what you're seeing as best as I can. Anyway, I wanted to have a pool in this house, and I hope we do get those in career mode at some point. You can kind of make pools in Sandbox, but even then it requires like a hack. We have those like above ground pools, and in Sandbox you can turn them upside down and the water level stays the same. So you can kind of use that water in your pool and then just lower the actual pool into the ground so it looks like a regular pool. But you can't do that in career mode, so unfortunately we couldn't have a pool in this house. Now that I think about it, maybe a pond would have made more sense, but that's okay because I end up filling a lot of the space with flowers anyway. The garden ends up looking very pretty. It ends up working out. When making the dormers, I thought I had to delete the original roof, which it turns out I did that for nothing. I thought I had to like use multiple roofs so the roof wouldn't clip into the house where the dormers are. But as it turns out, when you place a roof inside another roof, it automatically cuts a piece out of the roof underneath, which is good that it works that way, because when you have to connect multiple roofs together, you can still see the roof trim in the middle. It like kind of clips and looks ugly. So I'm glad the big roof piece ended up working out. I also wanted to do a glass roof, but unfortunately we don't have those in House flipper yet. You can kinda do it in Sandbox because you can rotate things freely there. But as of now, no way to make that happen in career mode. I understand not being able to undo in career mode, but I wish we had some things we have in Sandbox in career mode too. For example, rotating molding pieces freely, unlike the undo and redo buttons. That would be like completely realistic. So I don't understand why we don't have that, but fingers crossed we get it in the future. Like, if I could rotate the triangle molding pieces upside down, I wouldn't have had to make the space inside so much smaller, because I could easily connect the roof lines of the dormers and the main roof instead of having to build a wall all the way down. Which is unfortunate, but at least there was less to furnish, because I had to make the space so much smaller on the inside. Also, for some reason, copy style doesn't work properly on items that have like multiple wood tones. For example, when I tried to copy the style of windows to other windows, even though they're the same series of windows, it doesn't copy the secondary wood. Just a small complaint. It doesn't take that long to just change the secondary wood. But of course, it would be faster if I could just copy the style of one window and paste it to everything else instead of having to do all the different windows separately. It works on the like same exact window, but it doesn't work on different shape windows, even if they're the same model. Again, just a small complaint. Oh yeah, my molding pieces kept falling off. Every time you move something on a wall molding is attached to, all the molding falls off. So I kept having to redo those. For some reason, they don't just fall off the wall either, so I could just pick them up and reattach them. They like fall into the ground or glitch out of existence or whatever. So I have to like keep rebuying them too. So that's why I had to sell my windows, leaving the gap into the wall, and rebuild the wall instead of moving the window out of the wall before selling it, like I was explaining before. At least I was trying to avoid that. And still I had to redo my moldings multiple times. I added this trellis at the entrance. Like I said, I had to add a lot of detail to the wall so it wouldn't just be an empty triangle. So I added a trellis above the front porch. I wanted to fill it with plants, but for some reason there's no flat plants, like just grass or leaves. There are some vines, but you can't very easily layer them a lot. So I ended up just putting some vines in the front instead. It does look good from the front still. Also, I have this problem where I keep selling stuff I still need. I bet everyone does it sometimes, where you think you're done with surfaces, then you sell your panels or whatever and ended up needing it again and having to rebuy it. Luckily, it's very easy to get the surface finishes again with the copy style tool, but I kept having to rebuy my scaffolding because I kept selling it. When will I learn? Yeah, because of my molding pieces falling off, I had to keep rebuying them to like redo my roof supports. I don't know why the moldings keep falling off. If they could fix that, that would be great. Anyway, I did have footage of the game's own before and after photos, but unfortunately that file got corrupted, so I don't have it anymore. So I had to rebuy the house in-game just to take before photos. But I did that so you can have the before and after photos at the end. Don't worry. Anyway, that's all I have to talk about this build. If you want to support me, leave a like and a comment. If you want to see more of my content, don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy watching the rest of the build.
mission 41B, the first flight of the orbital Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower. Discovery's core computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions. And B, the first flight of the orbital Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower. Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions. Mission 41D, the first flight of the orbital Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.